Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Laajune here. Now we back in with another video. Now you see on the title of today's video, yes, I got to play Suicide Squad early, and there's a lot to talk about. Now I want to give a quick shout out to WB Games for actually providing me travel and being able to play Suicide Squad early. So shout out to y'all. But I have to say, I literally spoke this into existence, y'all. If I get a lucky chance to actually play the game early, I'm going to make sure I provide as much feedback as I can. It's such a crazy thing. I got to meet people that I've been watching for the longest and just being able to talk to the developers of the game and everything. It was such a wild experience. But without further ado, let's get into my impressions. Let's talk about the good and the bad. Let's get into it.
This is where the fun begins.
So for the first segment that we're going to be talking about is what probably people all care about the most is the story. I'm going to talk about what I got to experience so far from the story itself, from what we got to play. So let's get into that first. Now I do want to apologize that I will be looking at my phone here and there because I wrote every single thing down, every detail that I got to experience when I was there. So when I record this video, I don't miss a single detail. So let's get into it. So for the first thing is that the build that we got to play on was a month old. So everything that we got to experience in this one was not going to be in the final build. Of course, it happens as game development. But I do have to say, from what we played, it ran pretty smooth. I didn't run into no frame drops. Of course, ran into like little glitches, but of course, it's an old build, so it's going to happen. And they did state that the things that we got to experience was already fixed. So it's not a big deal if we're going to be perfectly honest. But I do have to say, we did play the intro. We played a little bit of chapter 1, and then we got skipped all the way to chapter 3. So we were put in the beginning of chapter 3, where we actually got to meet, spoiler, I'm just putting a spoiler right here. We already seen it in the Insider episode 2, but we got to see Poison Ivy, or Ivy, I guess you could say the reincarnation of Poison Ivy. But I do have to say the cinematics and the delivery from the voice actors for the Suicide Squad are very, very on point. I actually caught myself laughing a few times with some of the dialogue between King Shark, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang. They are actually funny, and some of the jokes really hit. I was playing with a few content creators, shout out to Comic Storian and Dane Falcon. There were some times we actually were really laughing at some of the things that they were saying because it actually hit, and it was pretty funny, and it really did what it had to do. Now, at a certain moment in chapter 3, where we actually had to find Lex, and Lex set up a trap for the Justice League. And of course, with the Suicide Squad being on site, they actually fell into the trap where they were frozen in place. And they all got trapped except Harley. And Harley, being the crazy one in the group, she was actually looking at Deadshot. And Deadshot told her, "Do not touch me. We will all be trapped if you touch me." And know how crazy Harley Quinn is? She actually goes on to touch Deadshot and literally gets them all trapped. It is super funny. Like, look at this scene right here.
Hello, swag.
Yet again, your feeble upper body strength betrays you, Boomerang.
Shark, hold up. It's a... Holly, get us out of this. Harley, do not touch us.
But you saying I can't really makes me want to, you know?
No!
Harley, no!
Worth it.
I expected that to catch one of you at most.
Lex, we've been known to exceed expectations.
Surrender, Luther. We have you outnumbered and outgunned.
My. I could use an army of you.
He's pretty underwhelming when you get to know him.
Seems you all have that in common. Tell Waller to stay out of my way. If you'll excuse me, my plan to neutralize the Justice League starts now. I'm going to enjoy this.
Now, you see what I mean? Harley is pretty crazy, and just overall that cutscene, it really matched the energy of what the Suicide Squad actually is. It just matches their humor. But I do have to say, from the story so far, what I got to experience with chapter 1 and chapter 3, It seemed like it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to have those moments where it's actually get emotional, sad, funny, and just upbeat. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do when it comes to the story overall, when it comes to the game. Now, since that is over, let's get on to the gameplay section. All right, so let's get on to the gameplay segment. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this is something I'm very critical on, because when it comes to gameplay, that is the most important thing. It will keep people playing and also coming back for the new characters that they will be releasing. So let's talk about it. When it comes to the gameplay, what I got to play with Suicide Squad at the event, it was very smooth. I had to give them that. The gunplay and using the character's abilities, it all ran smoothly, to be honest. I really had to give them that. Now, I did play co-op with Comic Storian and Dame Falcon. I will have their channel links on the screen, but Comic Storian was playing as Captain Boomerang and Dame was playing as Harley Quinn. And we had a developer, I really wish I would have got his name, but he was playing as Deadshot. But if you guys want to check out the perspectives of Captain Boomerang and Harley Quinn, check out the channel links below for Comic Storian and Dame Falcon. But so far, I have to say the gameplay was very smooth. Now, of course, with me, I was playing as King Shark. That's going to be my main. So mainly what I'm going to be talking about is King Shark and what I got to experience with him so far. Now, I do have to say his traversal is very, very good. Just from the base level of his traversal, it is really good already. And the thing is, you could already travel far distances with his apex pounce and his jump that he could do, but you could upgrade it and you could travel even further and jump even higher with it, which makes it even more crazier, which is insane to think about, because traversal is probably like the main thing that they have really focused on, trying to drive that point that traversal will be a big part of this game, which it really is. So that is something that they really mastered when it comes to these characters. I have to give them that, no lie. Now, when it comes to his two abilities, he has his Suicide Strike, which is a powerful single target attack that does a lot of damage. It has some cool animations along with it. And he also has his Atlantean Drop, which is basically like a dive bomb, which if the enemies that are caught in the area, they will get hit really hard and probably bounce up into the sky. You guys will see the gameplay when it comes down to the Suicide Strike and the Atlantean Drop, but those are some very good abilities for King Shark. Now, when it comes to King Shark's skill tree, it seems like he's more offensive / defensive when it comes to how he plays, because in his skill tree, when it comes to the defense, he basically has it where he puts an aura around himself where enemies does less damage to him, and they also take more damage from you and your allies. And it's pretty cool. And he has another one when it comes to his offensive tree, where he basically does more damage with his Atlantean Drop, and you can also get it back super fast. Like, I do a grenade at like 4 enemies and I got my Atlantean Drop back instantly. Like it's crazy how fast I got my abilities back when it comes to King Shark using his stuff. So it seemed like he's going to be more of the ability based type character, which is understandable, because let's be real, he is the most magic like character in the Suicide Squad when it comes to how he operates, since he is from Atlantis. So it's totally understandable that it is like that when it comes to him. Now, speaking about him being ability based, when it comes to his perks, it seems like they really mix well when it comes to his abilities, because they have one where once he does his Atlantean Drop, basically all the enemies that don't die from it become shield harvest. And we already know when it comes to shield harvest, you can over extembolate your shield, basically giving you an over shield, so you can take way more damage and just stay in the battlefield. You can do that and just keep overcharging your shield, so you can just stay in the fight, being that tank of the group. So it is pretty cool the way they got it mixed. And there's another one when it comes to his melee, where if you defeat a shield harvest enemy, depending on what percentage health they are, the enemies around them take a certain amount of damage from that shield harvest attack that you did. So it is pretty nice. So say for instance, like you do a 10k shield harvest attack, all the enemies around will take 5k damage, something like that. That's a good example of how that works. And you see how they mix together. Once you do that Atlantean Drop, you got enemy shield harvest, and if they're low enough, they're going to take that extra damage from the melee from you doing the shield harvest attack. So it's nice, the mixture between when it comes to his abilities and how they work well with the perks. And while we're speaking about perks, there is this certain grenade which is very special. It's called a bang grenade. Now, this does 500% more damage and increase the radius of it by 100%. And the only thing about it, which makes it so special, you can only hold one grenade of this. You can only hold one because it's super powerful. Now, there's a perk on a gun. Now, I don't know if it's tied to only assault rifles or SMGs, but I know specifically on the assault rifle I had, where if you get a critical hit, or I think as you get headshots, you will spawn a live grenade under an enemy. And the thing is, that grenade that you spawn that will be under enemy will be the bang grenade. So they mix together when it comes to those two perks. So you can easily just keep spawning a grenade that does 500% more damage and 100% more area radius just from getting critical hits on enemies, which is super OP when you think about it. And the thing is, the developer told me a little secret. He stated that there is another tier above that that makes the damage of the bang grenade go even higher and increase the radius even further. So I ain't gonna lie, they are cooking when it comes to that. So if they already have it where the weapon perks can tie along with the grenade, and where your abilities can tie into your perks with that, and also tie in with your melee, if they already got that mixture well already, then honestly, when it comes to build crafting in this game, it's going to be something special, to be honest. So they are really cooking when it comes to this. So that's pretty much everything so far when it comes to the gameplay segment that I have to talk about. The next thing I will be talking about is the new features that will be coming along with Suicide Squad that probably nobody knows about until now. Let's get into it. All right, so when it comes to the new features that will be coming along in Suicide Squad that is already in the game, now we have flying cars. Now, I really wish they could have got our reaction to seeing this for the first time, because it was so random. Like, the developer, they knew what they was doing. They told us to go to this random side mission, and once we got to it, we was like, you know, like, what's going on? Then all of a sudden, we saw cars just spawning out of nowhere, and we could fly. We was like, whoa, that is crazy. Because, like, when you look at Suicide Squad, you don't actually like look at it and see like, oh, they can fly vehicles. You don't think of that. Like, it's crazy the fact that they did that, and it's going to open up some brand new opportunities when it comes to us seeing different type of vehicles we can actually fly around. If they have a way we can fly around in a Batmobile, that would be crazy. That would be actually crazy, low key. I would like to see that, to be honest. But they do have it in a vehicle where you can actually get your teammate to get along with you and get into the turret, so you both could be just firing at enemies doing what you do. But the thing is, the vehicles can explode, so you can either let it explode and destroy itself, or you can sit there flying at enemies and, you know, just do the explosion and just, you know, hit the enemies to get them out the way. So there's two different ways you could do that, and I have to say the flying vehicles do feel smooth, so they really did their thing when it comes to that. So for the next thing we do have is pretty big. This is pretty big when it comes to the grinders and people that don't have enough time to grind. They have it set up where if your friend is playing Suicide Squad and you're not online and you can't play for right now, they can actually pull your character in with them, do any type of activities or missions that give them rewards and gear and all that. And once you log back in, all the gear and rewards that your character did, while they were playing with your friend, while you wasn't playing, they will have the rewards sitting in your inventory. So you could basically have it set up where your friend can just play all night, all day long, and all the gear that they get for your character. And once you log in, you will have all of that. And you never know. You could possibly end up getting a god roll weapon, a god roll, you know, gear piece or something like that that will fit your build specifically for you and well for you as well. So I like the fact that they did that, because to be honest, you know, I know there's some people that don't have enough time to play games here and there, and the fact that your friends can pull your character in and get rewards for you while you're not playing, that is such a good feature. I have to give them that. That is really good. And another thing as well, there will be an after mission summary, so you can see who was doing the most objectives, who was doing the most damage, who was getting the most kills and all that good stuff. So it can create some competition between you and your friends and all that good stuff. So it is nice. I like the fact that they added that, because you can just really, you know, get that competitive side with your friends and just mess around and joke around and stuff like that. Now, I can say it could possibly get toxic if you're playing with people online and they like super sweaty and just want to, you know, bloat and all that. But then again, it really depends on how you really go about it, because if you're playing with your friends and, you know, you see your friend got something hard, then they go joke around, and you know how it goes. If you play games like this, they have at their mission summary. So that's another thing they have in the game as well. Now, another thing we do have is another tier above Legendary, which is called Notorious, which is villain themed weapons and gear. Now, these are themed after some of the villains that we got to see. Now, the ones I know so far that we actually got to see while we were playing, we saw Black Mask, we saw Bizarro, Two-Face, General Zod, Lex, and the Penguin. Now, the one you're seeing on screen right now is the Black Mask villain set. Now, this basically states that each enemy you hit with this firearm receives the Black Mask mark. Applying a Black Mask mark to 3 different enemies within 6 seconds causes all marked enemies to trigger a fire explosion that burns nearby enemies. So let's say, for instance, you apply the Black Mask mark to 3 enemies, and that one enemy is around like a group of 5 enemies. Those 5 enemies will get hit with the burn status, and they will take damage and have that burn status on them. Now, I remember in the Insider episode 2 for they said for King Shark, if once you apply the burn status on enemies, you will get like a little buff that will make you vulnerable to damage for a certain amount of seconds. I can't remember specifically, but I know they said it in there. Once you apply the burn status, you will get a shield that basically makes you invulnerable for a certain amount of time. So this will mix super well into that for King Shark. And this is what I've been stating. The way they have these perks and everything mixing together to create certain builds, the build crafting is going to be insane when it comes to this game. And I cannot wait to really see how everything goes down. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the features so far that we know that's coming to Suicide Squad. But yeah, that is pretty much it overall. All right, so for one negative I do have to talk about so far is probably the boss fight. That's probably going to be something that people don't like the most, because overall from the first boss fight we got to experience was the Flash. He is the first boss we fight, and the whole premise about it, all you really have to do is do the counter shot and make sure you hit the right Flash. And once you get later into the boss fight, he starts to spawn after images of himself that start to do Speed Force Kamehamehas, and it'd be like 3 or 4 of them on the map, and you don't know which one is the right Flash. So you have to hit the counter shot on the right Flash to actually do damage to him. And then if you don't do the right Flash, you will get hit by the Speed Force Kamehamehas from the Flash. Then later on, he starts to spawn tornadoes around, and they just get super hectic because you got to watch out for the tornadoes because they do damage to you. And then you got to watch out for the Speed Force Kamehamehas because they do damage to you. Then there's another one where he does like a little Speed Force, like little magnet thing that if you're in that area, you're going to get hit. It's just a lot going on. Now, I do have to say, we were dying. There was like one time where I was the only one alive, and I had to like revive people and get to a certain checkpoint where they all can revive, because you only limited to 2 revives in a boss fight, it seems like. So I can say it will get super hectic if you're playing with friends, or if you're just playing by yourself. It can get hectic, but then again, once you like discover the whole premise of it and learn how everything goes down, then it gets super easy. I feel like that's probably going to be one of the things that people critique the most so far when it comes to it. So we really just got to see. And I did state that it is the first boss fight you actually get to do, so it's basically just going to test your abilities on how you can do when it comes to boss fight. And I'm already knowing when it comes to games like these, it's going to get harder and harder when it comes to fighting some of the other Justice League members, because with the new mechanics that's going to be introduced to that. So that's pretty much like my only negative so far when it comes to the game. Pretty much everything else is positives, if I'm going to be honest with you. But let's get on to my overall feelings of how I feel about Suicide Squad so far. All right, so for my overall impressions of how I feel about Suicide Squad and what I got to play at the event, I feel like it's a fun game, if I have to be honest. If I have to give this game an identity, think of it like Borderlands, a third-person Borderlands with DC characters attached to it, just something like that. And that's not bad, because Borderlands, the game series itself, is not bad at all. It's a really good series, to be honest, to have like that little image over, because Borderlands is really good when it comes out to the gunplay, the perks, just overall the story. So I really feel like that's not a bad example, to be honest, to describe Suicide Squad. Now, I have to state, it is understandable that people have pretty much written the game off, because people are used to the Arkham games, which are single player and story driven, compared to this, which is a complete 180 with it being a shooter and with having live service elements to it, with being a live service game. So it is understandable that people have written it off. But I do have to state, the story so far, what I got to experience, it still has that Rocksteady title on it. It's just different compared to what you're used to. And I talked to the developers. They understand the complete 180 on how people feel about it. I really feel like people are just going to have to wait for the game to come out to actually see what people think about it, because I really feel like this is going to surprise people, to be honest. But we really just have to wait for the game to come out fully to see what people think of it. But if I have to state it so far, I really feel like this game is fun and it's going to be underrated or probably surprise people, if I have to say so myself. But that's pretty much it for today's video. It's Laajune here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video as I enjoyed making it. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well, so there's a video and I'll be notified. And I'm gone. Peace.